Hello, this is Dr. Melida Barrow. I'm the founder and CEO of the 6th Region Global Chamber of Commerce. Here we are in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, celebrating Africa Celebrates. And here we have the ambassador of Colombia to Kenya. So I want you to introduce yourself because we have so many things to talk about, especially Colombia. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Thank you, Melida. Hello, my name is Pedro Cortes, as Melida mentioned already. I am the ambassador of Colombia to Kenya. With other colleagues from Colombia, other people of African descent in Colombia, we have other ambassadors in South Africa, in Senegal, in Ghana, and very soon also in Addis, as
That's
part
right.
of what the government of Colombia has called Strategy Africa. That's the approach that we are looking for, strengthening our relationship between Colombia and Africa. I'm very happy to be here with Melida. We have participated in Africa Celebrates 2024, and I think we have made good advance in terms of
we
identifying roadmaps. So I'm here ready to have
work.
this conversation. Yes.
I'm going to put you to work.
Of course. Please go ahead.
We are in Africa. There's so much to do, and there's so much connection that we need to do between Africa and Latin America. We have had programs already in Panama. We have already had programs in Cali, Colombia, connecting Africa and the diaspora. What I want us to talk about is something very important, because many Latin American countries don't have that connectivity, and people don't realize that there's a large number of us, people of African descent, in Latin America. And what Dr. Barrow wants to do is to have that connectivity. There's so much that we have. There's so many products that we have, and Africans do not know about it. And the reason Africans do not know about it is because there's no connectivity. It's very difficult having that communication. And also I want to talk about something that's very important. Africans, if I ask you, and I know you're going to say, I don't know. If I ask you, where is Curacao? Where is Nicaragua? Where is Belize? You're going to look at me in this camera and you're going to say, I don't know. There's a reason for that. Geography is key in order to do business. You cannot do business if you don't know where these regions are, where these countries are. But we have a movement now from the 6th Region Global Chamber of Commerce, and that is to educate our brothers and sisters in Africa in order to know where to do business in Latin America, in the Caribbean, and in the world. Another thing that's important, we don't do business with our indigenous people in these regions. And this is the time now to do so. I want us to talk more about how Africa can begin to start doing business in Colombia.
Perfect, Melida. But allow me first to talk to you about how this interest and this approach that the current government has towards Africa emerge.
Yes.
Basically, the leadership of this approach is from our Vice President, Francialena Marquez.
Good.
An Afro-descendant woman, a community activist, Goldman Prize Award winner, and now our Vice President. The first Afro-descendant woman Vice President in Colombia.
History.
Yes.
That's history.
What has happened in this government is that the historical claims of the Afro-descendant people in Colombia now are part of the government agenda. That's why from the beginning of this government, we have began to work with the countries I mentioned, Kenya, South Africa, Ghana, now Senegal,
Yes.
in order to begin establishing different agreements
Yes.
in all fields. Because the idea, as our vice president used to say, is that the vision is that we need to reconnect with
Yes.
Africa.
There you go.
In all
Yes.
dimensions.
Yes.
In
yes.
all dimensions. And as Colombia is the whole society of Colombia that need to reconnect with Africa.
Yes.
Not just Afro-descendant people.
Yes.
But it's important to say that out of the 200 million of people of African descent in the Americas as continent,
Exactamente.
in Colombia we have more than 6 millions of people of African descent in Colombia,
Yes.
representing like 10% of the Colombian population.
Yes.
So, in the implementation of the strategy Africa, in terms of commerce or trade, as I just mentioned, obviously we have found that, okay, the goal from the perspective of the government, obviously, is to try to agree instrument of cooperations, memorandums of understanding
Yes.
on trade.
Exactly.
So we are working on that. But to do that, and I am going back to what you are saying, is that since the time I arrived, for example, to Kenya, part of my work has been to educate
Exactamente.
Kenyans
Yes.
about what is Colombia, but it's a reciprocal process because it's true that Africans don't know what they need to know in order to do business in Africa,
Yes.
but the same happens in the other direction. So part of the process that I have the mission to accomplish is that. So obviously that's in general terms.
Yes.
Now part of the process in terms of business, I don't know if we want immediately to that because I
Yes,
would like
we need
to know.
to.
Okay.
We need to because oftentimes we hear of a country, but we don't know what they have.
Okay.
And I want to talk about this because this is so important. In Africa, we have we import more than we export.
Yeah.
And we don't know that in Colombia, in Panama, and other countries, what you are what you are importing. I do believe Africans can start working with us directly, and they're not. That's why they're importing more than they're exporting. For example, when Europeans come to Africa, they take, they go around, they go to Colombia, they go to the Caribbean, they go to Latin America, and then they re-export back to Africa. That has to change. It cannot continue because we also have the way of working on these things. In other words, what I'm saying is, I think the time is now, Africa, in order for you to have that middle passage, that middle organization, and we have it, the 6th Region Global Chamber of Commerce, have that connectivity between you and between the indigenous people, all people also in the world. So why are you not working with your brothers and your sisters? You see, this conversation is very important because when it comes to business, Ambassador, it's one-sided. And the vision is for us to do business with everyone. You see?
Yeah.
And what I like about Colombia has so many products that the world doesn't know. So I would like for you to talk about what do we have in Colombia for Africans to come to Colombia and for us to work together.
Perfect. Yes, let me begin by, as we were discussing before this interview.
Yes.
I think now Colombia has a very strong institutional arrangements to promote exports and imports in general
That's
terms.
right.
What we are trying to do is to include regions and people of African descent there. So I really encourage those who see this video, to go to the website investcolombia.com
Yes.
or ProColombia, because there you will find a very good description of the potential sectors.
Yes.
Why invest in Colombia? What are the sectors? What are the priorities? What are the benefits?
Yes.
What is the institutional arrangement? So I really encourage to do that.
Right.
But let me say first, and let me talk about the political dimension.
Yes.
Because as government, our mission is to facilitate institutional arrangements so that private sector and other actors can do business.
That's right.
So that's our focus.
That's right.
So I think that this government and Strategy Africa, from the political perspective, we are seeing Africa as brothers and sisters.
Exactly.
We're not looking again Africa. Oh, let's replicate colonialism in terms of extract things from Africa and just do business. No. What we are trying to emphasize is South-South cooperation. I mean, politically,
yes,
what we are trying to do is to consolidate alliance with African countries so that the global South can have a voice and can push for the transformation we require to address the global challenge we are having.
Right.
So that includes fair trade, obviously. So that entails that we have to look business, obviously, from a particular perspective.
Yes.
Because Africa and South America and Colombia especially, because also geographical similarities, we produce similar products.
Exactly.
So we are competitors in the global market.
Exactly.
So in some way we cannot focus just on import and export these products.
Yes.
See? But we have to consider that we are in the same position regarding our articulation with the global market. Okay. Said that, and with the emphasis of Strategy Africa, you have to know, maybe Africans don't know that first I just tell the numbers.
Yes.
Now I have to tell that in terms of Colombia is one of the most biodiverse country in the world. So that means that we have all the geographical conditions, diversity,
right,
and we are very, very, very rich in terms of obviously agribusiness. Specifically in the Pacific coast of Colombia, that has been the historical territory of people of African descent and indigenous.
Exactamente.
Today, there is a lot of potential in terms of the products that you find them in terms of agriculture. We have chontaduro, we have sugarcane, we have plantains, we have cocoa, we have cacao. I mean, there is a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff that is being produced by local communities.
Yes.
And they haven't had the chance to really incorporate, have the potential to participate in the international trade.
Right.
So there are a lot of communities there ready to really find partners, investments.
That?
Yeah, of course. And I have to say also that in the Pacific of Colombia, we have Buenaventura. It's a port. It's the main port of Colombia. Through Buenaventura is throughout which the export of coffee, the majority of Colombian goods go through Buenaventura.
Right.
So it's also a city that is mainly inhabited by people of African descent. So there's a lot. As in Africa, there is a lot of people of African descent working on cultural industries. Also in the industry of textiles, also ecotourism. Oh my God.
Yes.
Communities are really.
I know.
I mean, the ecotourism, especially in the Pacific coast, but in other regions, has a lot of potential.
Yes, it does.
But once again, we have communities, local communities, trying to find resources to do a kind of ecotourism in which they really can participate and can obviously earn the benefits of that.
Yes.
So that's why politics is important
That's
here.
true.
Because
That's true.
for some projects in Colombia, especially that are relevant for people of African descent, we are not looking just for the big hotels.
Exactly.
No, we are looking for people very interested in this kind of ecotourism that obviously is more adequate in the current situation of the
Right.
world. So I just mentioned some sectors, some
things,
products,
yeah.
but let me emphasize that the institutions in Colombia now, they are ready. They are ready, they are open, see?
Yes.
To have special attention, to engage in a process with African countries to really begin to
Right.
find a way to
Right.
consolidate the commerce with them.
Very good. I want to touch bases also on culture. I want to touch bases also on the descendants from Africa during slavery, because many Africans in Africa do not know that there is a large number of Africans that was taken from Africa are still in Colombia. And for example, Choco have a lot of people from the Congo. And those of you that do not know this, I do think it's time now for my brothers and sisters here in Africa to visit your brothers and sisters in Colombia, in Choco. Why? Because I think it's time now for us to reconnect in a way, in not just business, but reconnect as our brothers and sisters. You know, the Sixth Region Global Chamber of Commerce, what is important here is not just business, but it's also a culture where we can still learn. Because what's happening and what I discovered even on this trip is that we don't really know each other.
Exactly.
We don't know each other. And I think by getting to know each other, we will work better.
Yeah.
You know, and when you have people saying, well, that was then, but they don't know the effect that it took upon us and still going on, and the traumas and all the things that have happened in Latin America and in the Caribbean, there's still traumas going on, and we need to heal. You know, and I'm bringing this up for very, very good reason, because I have had the experience here in Addis Ababa of the disconnection that we have between brothers and sisters. And I think that that's part of also business, even though we don't think it is. Because in Addis Ababa, you have products, but your mind is thinking, no, I can't go to these places. But it's not that you can't go to these places, you don't know where to go. To import, to export. You don't know to go to, you know, Barranquilla and Cartagena. You know, you don't know anything about Latin America. And I think the Sixth Region Global Chamber of Commerce, it's coming and having this movement of us getting to know each other, but not just in business, but in our culture and the food. The food in Colombia, Dios mío. Every time I go to Colombia, I gain like 5 to 10 pounds, and I'm only there a week. So we need to start exchanging this type of information, because that's also business.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
Yeah, actually, living in Kenya, it's very interesting because the food in Kenya and Colombia, as happens with other countries, they are very similar.
Are they?
Yes, of course. In Kenya,
oh my God.
In Kenya, they used to eat what is called ugali. Ugali is something that is made with maize flour, and they eat ugali like rice every day. It's the same thing as that you find in Colombia that we call in Cartagena and in Barranquilla bollo limpio. It's the same thing.
Serious?
Yes. The food is very similar. I mean, from the academic in Colombia, since the 80s especially, there has been a lot of research from the anthropological perspective, finding these connections and the persistence of the same practices, of the same root. So we also have in Colombia what we call the piece of Africa in Colombia.
Yes.
Palenque de San Basilio.
Yeah, the palenque.
Palenque de San Basilio.
That's right. Because see, they don't know what palenque is.
Yes.
Tell them what palenque is.
Yeah, I mean, since the time enslaved Africans were brought to America in all countries, what described best the attitude was resistance.
Yes.
Resistance. As I mentioned in some of the activities in Africa Celebrates, the history of people of African descent in the Americas is mostly the history of resistance, not the story of slavery.
Right,
but it's the story of resistance. So since the beginning, enslaved Africans, they escaped to territories with difficult access.
Right.
And they began to found their own towns.
Exactamente.
They were called cimarrones, maroons.
Yes, the maroons.
And the towns they built were called palenques.
Yes.
In Colombia, in Brazil, quilombos.
Right. We had palenque. We have palenques
in Panama,
too.
Obviously.
In Panama, obviously.
Of course.
Yeah.
So in Colombia, there were 100 of palenques. Actually, I think most of the black communities in the rural area today, the origin were palenques.
Yes.
But there is this very emblematic Palenque de San Basilio.
Yes.
If you travel today, was declared by UNESCO as a cultural heritage of humanity.
Right.
But if you went to Palenque or an African go to Palenque, they will feel like they are in any village of Africa.
Yes.
They keep their own language. Obviously, it's a mixture of African roots, Spanish. They have they keep the same. They keep forms of social organization, what is called the cuadros.
Yes.
They have the food, the gastronomy, the hairstyle.
Yes.
It's like.
Same thing.
It's like Africa. It's very emblematic. See?
Yes.
So what is important to recognize is that African legacy is in the DNA of Colombia.
Exactly.
Not just obviously people of African descent, their communities, they are there.
Yes.
But a lot of Colombian culture or Latin American culture is completely impregnated by African legacy. So.
And many Africans don't know that.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing how Africans, descendants in those regions are still, are still practicing the culture. The drums, everything. And I don't think Africans know that. That we are still with the gastronomy and the dances, the culture, everything. And I think it's time now that Africans come to our region. That's what the 6th Region Global Chamber is doing. We want to, for next year, we are going to be inviting and having programs for them to come, Africans to come to our region. I know that you go to vacation in Europe and all these other places. But let's switch the narrative a little bit. Start coming and visiting your brothers and sisters in our regions, in all over the place. You see, my mindset is this. My mindset, this is not just about the Caribbean, Latin America, and North America. It's the world. We're everywhere. We're talking about the Aborigines, the Native, the East Indians. We're talking about everybody, everywhere. And if we begin to connect, if we begin to connect in a way, we are going to discover that everything that we do is interconnected, but we don't know because we don't communicate.
Yeah.
So in closing, I want us to go back into the business section, that the 6th Region Global Chamber of Commerce is connecting Africa with the African diaspora in different countries, in Trinidad and Tobago, in the Bahamas, all over throughout. And I think it's important because I realize that if we don't do this, the situation is going to continue the way it is. And I think that there's so many young people also. I have to talk about the young people that are struggling, but they have that opportunity. We have a movement now throughout Africa and the world where we are inspiring the youth and women. We are motivating them. We are teaching them about geography as to where they can go and do business, and to do business in what they're looking for. So you represent Colombia, and also I want everybody to know that my grandparents was also born in Colombia, so in San Andres, Colombia. So I'm very attached to Colombia, but I want to see us rise. I want to see us begin to do business with each other, but also I need you to begin to trade internationally. And I think Africa might not know of all of the things that we do, but this is why you need to call or you need to email 6th Region Global Chamber of Commerce, because ProColombia also has the different opportunities there. And then we have the Afro Chamber of Commerce. We have so many. So what we need to do, Africanos, my brothers and sisters, contact us and we will connect you back with the ambassador, and he can guide you, the ambassador of Kenia, of Colombia. So in closing, what do you have to say to our African brothers
Thank you,
and sisters?
Melida, because the 6 global chambers of commerce, the 6 region plan, we really thank you.
Yes,
I
thank you.
think we are on the same page as I've just mentioned. I think governments has the mission of building agreements, institutional arrangements.
Yes.
But it is civil society from the different sector who have the power, the capacity of really sustaining this reconnection we need.
Yes.
So thank you very much. You already know Colombian government is ready to engage in collaboration in any initiatives that the 6 Region Global Chamber of Commerce can have.
Yes.
And I think that I want to finish emphasizing again what is the political and I think spiritual perspective of Strategy Africa of the current government of Colombia. I think our Vice President brought this to the government, the idea of...
And I have to give her a special thank you. Gracias, muchas gracias, mi vicepresidenta de Colombia. Muchas gracias en mandarlo.
What she brought, it was the voice of the community and explicitly Ubuntu. In Spanish, the slogan that is now part of the vision was, in Spanish is, soy porque somos. Meaning, I am, or we are, I am because we are. So that has been basically I think the most important continuity between Africa and people of African descent.
Yes.
Collectiveness. Community.
Yes.
That's the power.
Yes.
That's why that permeates all dimensions of this vision of reconnection. I think in terms of business, for example, especially black communities or Afro-descendant communities in Colombia, they are ready to engage in business because are part of a collective project that will benefit these communities. So I think again, thank you very much. And Colombia is and this government is ready to move fast forward and fast to try to make possible these connections and these initiatives. So thank you, Melida.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I know you enjoyed this program.
Yes. yes.
And I want to thank Lexi also, Lexi Mojo Eyes, for having this program, Africa Celebrates. I appreciate you. This is Dr. Melida Harris Barrow, founder and CEO of the 6th Region Global Chamber of Commerce. I also want to mention that the Journey of Reconciliation is coming for 2025. We had this program in 2022. It was excellent. We had so many people there reconnecting with each other. I think Africa and the world needs healing. And I think with this healing, with our mindset, we are all over the place, but we have to come back to the reality of things. We have to come back to who we are as a people in the world and love one another. Thank you very much. On the bottom of this screen, you're going to see the 6th Region email information and email address, and please contact us. Thank you very much, and may God bless you all.